Shalom, shalom, Mishpachah. This is Yerd Yao checking in. Hope everyone is doing well. The video is called Unmasking. This is the name of the video, is Unmasking. And the reason should be very obvious as to why that this video is called Unmasking. The things that we've been seeing lately in the media have all been I guess you could say a lesson in exposure, right? So the veil is being lifted off of everything that we're seeing right now. Of course, the main topic of conversation is the Epstein files. And in the Epstein files, you find everything from child trafficking and rape to the things that we can say on YouTube, cannibalism, vampirism, all of the different things that you would associate with a satanic cult. And those documents were released, and in the conversation that was being had in the documents, it was very casual. It was as if this was a lifestyle, right? As if it was like a religion, that you were, in this club, and this club does these really wicked and evil things, and it's just like no big deal. It's just a part of their culture. Do you see what I'm saying? So that was exposed a couple of weeks ago, and that, casual evil at the highest levels was very clear. And in the scripture, it definitely details this very thing coming from Mystery Babylon. We see that in Revelation 17. We see it in Revelation 18. We see where the whore of Babylon, Mystery Babylon, is fornicating with the kings of the earth. And literally that's what Epstein is doing. He is running a child prostitution ring that is worldwide, right? And that's just, one of the things that he was doing. But it appears that was the main thing, running a honeypot scam and blackmailing all of the major world leaders into capitulation to the will of Israel, right? And that would be Ashkenazi Israel. But running all those things through the American government, basically as a spy, as a spy that works for his own, organization that supersedes all of the national organizations. That's why it looks like he, is a Russian spy. That's why it looks like he's an Israeli spy. That's why it looks like he is a American spy. That's why it looks like he's a British spy, and all of the, the British circles as well. Because he's working for all of these different countries as an agent, a liaison between, the rulers of the world and the beast. Do you see what I'm saying? That's literally what was exposed in the Epstein files. And it was exposed deliberately. And that's what you guys have to understand, that it was exposed deliberately, you guys. Exposed deliberately. Now, why would they expose something like this deliberately? Why would they do that? Turns out this is not the first time something like this has happened. Do you see what I mean? You can go back a long way. You could even say that, the satanic panic of the 80s was a self-exposure of the satanic underground elite coming to the surface, right? It was the satanic panic of the 80s. What I didn't know is that Oprah was to blame for the start of it. You see what I'm saying? We know Oprah. We know Oprah's a part of the satanic society. But she had a couple videos, a couple series on Satanism. And I believe it was a series that she did on Satanism. And I saw a couple of the videos, or I saw a couple of clips from a couple of videos in that series. And one of the episodes in this series focused on a whole Jewish family, right? You should see this Jewish family. They look, almost wholesome, right? But when it's a woman in the in the center that's doing the most of the talking, and she looks like just your average, middle America white woman, right? Glasses, a little bit heavy set, pronounced manner. Oh yeah, gosh, like that. So, but the things that she's saying, they worship the adversary. They had to perform ritual sacrifice. They, were doing these things to, just the most disturbing things that you could think of, right? And then she's just releasing all of this on Oprah. And it turns out in the 80s and the 90s particularly, that Oprah was the most influential person in all of America. You guys, Oprah was the most influential person in all of America. She was the number one, daytime talk series, number one series, for the time that she was on air. Her specials would rival the Super Bowl. I saw a documentary the other day. I grew up in that era, so I remember Oprah. I remember the book clubs and all of that. But what I just didn't recognize is how much of a grip, how much of a control that Oprah had over, all of the middle-aged women in America, like all of them. Do you see what I'm saying? This is what kind of spellcraft, does that. But anyway, on her show, she exposed that there was this satanic elite underground, and they had this woman on there, and she said her whole family was Jewish, and they worshiped the devil their whole lives. Like, not, in a sarcastic way or anything like that, but literal worship, literal sacrifices, literal firstborn sacrifices. Like from the Bible, they sacrificed their firstborn to Moloch. They were doing those things, or other people's firstborns, or kidnapping people to do these things. And that was coming out on Oprah on prime time. Do you see what I'm saying? So everybody heard it. And, I was alive during this time, but this is not something that I was familiar with, right? That this was going on. So I was around in the 80s, right? And I remember a lot of the things about the 80s. I remember even hearing that a lot of the stuff that people were listening to was satanic things, right? Like one of them that was, exposed was KISS, the group KISS, which stood for Kings in Shaitan Society. And I thought, that's weird that this rock group would be named that, but I didn't really think anything of it. Turns out really all the rock groups were like that. They were, even the Beatles were that way. We're just these satanic, these evil doers, right? You see what I'm saying? Like literal evil doers, like can't wait to do evil. The Bible talks about these people, right? Talks about the seed of Satan. Do you see what I'm saying? The ones that are not chosen. You see what I mean? Do you see what I'm saying? So it goes a very long way into proving what the scriptures say. This is an unmasking, you guys. An unmasking. And the reason why they're doing it deliberately, excuse me, the reason why they're doing it deliberately is because they're preparing us for a satanic society. I will tell you that they are exposing this because they want you to know what's going on. And there's a reason for that. The reason is that they're going to one day take the mask all the way off. They're going to take it all the way off. And people are going to know that what they're following is the devil. Do you see what I'm saying? They're going to take the mask. There's going to be a time when people will have to choose. And that choice will be very plain. It won't be a trick. It'll have to be a plain choice. That's why this unmasking is happening. Because people have to be given an option. You see what I'm saying? And so if you guys have been around this community, the conspiracy community, for a little while, you'll be familiar with the Illuminati card game, right? There's a bunch of cards on there that from this guy in 1994, he printed out this whole game, right? It's like a it's not a role-playing game, like it's not a video game, but it's like if you guys remember, I can't even, is it Dungeons and Dragons? Because I never did play any of those kind of geeky games where you have the card that you flip and you have to perform an action, or this card levels you up and this card powers you down. You get a chance to play this card at this time. I think it was Dungeons and Dragons that used to do that, and you could be a character and all that. Well, it was that style of game. This Illuminati card game was that style of game, and on all of the cards were these different organizations and events. And once the year started progressing after this Illuminati card game came out, a lot of the events on the cards started to come true. You see what I'm saying? You'll see a 9/11 card. You'll see a Pentagon card. I'm sorry for the mic. I can't keep this pop stop. What do you call it? A pop stopper. Can't keep it in place. So until I get my microphone stand on, this will just have to do. But a bunch of the things on the cards started to come true. Things that were, really too spot on to just say, okay, well, this is a coincidental thing, right? There's a pandemic card, right? You see what I'm saying? A card that predicts that there's going to be a huge pandemic. 9/11 card, Pentagon card, all sorts of different things that have happened. So some of the things on the cards are not so obvious to be these plans, right? So what it turns out is that these are all sorts of just these evil plans that are going to come down the pipeline of things that they have planned to do to society, right? There's just and here's the wild part about it. Epstein has proven this, but there's like a board that sits up and thinks of all of these evil things and puts them into play and puts money behind them, and brings these things to fruition, like a literal, like the devil has a meeting, and he's meeting, and they're coming up with evil things to do, and that's what they're doing. They're implementing those things. Literally, that's the nature of reality, right? So we find that out. But the reason why they would be doing this, and I kind of lost my train of thought here, but the reason why they would be doing this is because they are going to expose that this is what is happening. That there is a devil, and that there is, this secret underground group of rich people that are performing all of these evil acts. Yeah, and I'm talking about the Illuminati card game. One of the cards that's a mysterious card on there is called Unmasked, right? And it's the title, the title cover, the thumbnail for this video. It's this person taking a mask off. And I remember seeing that as a younger investigator, if you want to say, and thinking, I wonder what this could mean. So many years ago, right? And I'm looking at this and like, okay, well, they've got something cooked up about this, right? I wonder what it could be. And so here we are in 2026, right? And we see, this particular unveiling of reality in more ways than just Oprah. You see what I'm saying? Oprah is a talk show, so you're not going to take necessarily a talk show serious enough to where that investigations are going to be spawned, because at the end of the day, a talk show is entertainment. Even though these things that are coming out are absolutely true about these people and the way that they do things, it's still for entertainment purposes only. And you get the idea, no, you're good. You get the idea that that it still could be all fake, right? Because it's a show, and you can suspend your belief, right? But if this is coming out in secret correspondences, and they've got all the names of the major players in it, it's a little bit harder to deny, even in your own reality, right? Even in your own understanding. So anyway, you can't deny it. You can't even deny it to yourself, right? So anyway, this Illuminati card, Unmasked, right? You get to see in 2026 the return of Jim Carrey, right? Jim Carrey been out of the limelight for a little while, and nobody's heard from Jim Carrey, right? But he is tapped here in this era, this age, this day, to play a psychological game, right? To play a trick. You guys have seen the fake Jim Carrey that was going around pretending to be Jim Carrey. Cheeks too big, eyes weird, different from Jim Carrey. Making all of these, different hints, right? Like, oh, I must be a dead man. Or the best mask is the mask that I'm wearing right now. Or the funniest face that I can put on is the face that I'm wearing right now. All of these inferences to him not being Jim Carrey and wearing a mask and being in some sort of clever disguise, and with these weird looks into the camera, just very, very obvious, right? Mask. And then that Jim Carrey also played a character. His breakout role, people will say Ace Ventura is his breakout role. I would say that that's a cult classic. But cult classic, right? But I would say that The Mask was really his breakout role. That's the one that I started paying at. People loved Ace Ventura because how goofy it was. I wasn't a goofy type of guy back then. I'm more goofy now than I was then. And back then I didn't like all that goofiness, right? And Jim Carrey was too goofy. But I took The Mask as something to be, semi mythological, and so I was into some mythological things back then. So I thought it was cool. I thought that, becoming a superhero from finding one of these relics in you see what I'm saying? I thought that was cool. So I went to see that movie. And, come to find out that really what the movie is about is possession, like demonic possession. And they even give you the name of the demon that is possessing Jim Carrey, right? It's this green demon Loki. Back then I did all this research and I made 3 videos on this channel. They've been on this channel for a decade now. I did Jim Carrey the Green Demon 1, Jim Carrey the Green Demon 2, and Jim Carrey the Green Demon 3, right? And so it goes through. If you guys want to watch the videos are still on this channel. They've been getting, just a little bit of play since all this stuff is going on. But you get Jim Carrey that shows back up. And that his breakout role is The Mask. And here goes this guy in a mask. Do you see what I'm saying? And then it comes out later that, Jim Carrey's fine. This guy was a performing artist, and this was all this big event, and it was to bring awareness. Just some excuse. Even though, if I'm not mistaken, we still haven't seen Jim Carrey. But I think he put out a statement and a picture. We still haven't seen Jim Carrey. We still don't really know what this was all about. But clearly the signaling, if you're going to, analyze the propaganda, the signaling is unmasked, right? That's what they're signaling, that the mask is off. And I can go into Jim Carrey just a little bit. But really, what I really want to go into is world politics in Iran and just really what's going on there, because that's an unmasking too. And if you guys hang out for a little while, hopefully I'll get to it before something dramatic happens. The power's been going out here fairly regularly, so let's just try to get through it. So Jim Carrey, for you guys that are just now coming into the knowledge of what's going on, Jim Carrey has been a cult leader in Hollywood for at least 15 years, you guys. So if you go back and look at his movies, you'll find that he plays this green character. Like in all of his movies, he'll have some sort of green color on. Even the movies that aren't, wild comedies, like there was this movie that I watched that's a real, like a psychological, like relationship killer. It's called, and you guys will know it if you've ever seen it, it's called Eternal Sunshine on a Spotless Mind or something like that. Eternal Sunshine. It's a whole relationship movie. If you watch it, it was, and I peeped it back then when I watched it. I was like, dang, if you watch this with your girl, you'd be ready to break up with her. You see what I'm saying? Or dang, if a girl was watching it, dang, I'm watching this and if he's watching this, he'll be ready to break up with me. You see what I'm saying? It's like one of those things that appears to be a psychological program to attack relationships. We know that all media is basically propaganda, and all propaganda is Satanism. So the way that they attack is in these invisible weapons called programs that, program you to do this or that, through subconscious suggestion, almost like low-grade hypnosis. So we know that about all of the propaganda. But anyway, another way that they do this, another way that they project who they are and what entity is possessing them, is by the colors and this color scheme. So that Jim Carrey is presenting himself as this green figure, right? And if you know from, even the Marvel series, we don't watch Marvel, we don't do anything Marvel, but we're familiar with it. Like our kids don't know no Marvel, our kids don't know no Spider-Man, anything like that, because he throws the sign, all of these things that are, openly satanic. So so they know of these things, but they don't know anything about them. So in Thor, we know Thor is a Norse deity, and he's got this brother Loki, and Loki always wears green, right? And so this is the entity that is possessing Jim Carrey. If you look at anything about Loki, and this is research that you don't need to go into, but research I did years ago when I was first learning all of these things, that Loki was this trickster trickster deity, right? And he was the best at lying, the best at comedy. He was like the Joker, right? He was this Joker figure, and this Joker figure was just another facet, another character that the devil, represents. And in these, in this comedy medium, this is how he portrays, do you see what I'm saying, his wickedness, by being persuasive through comedy. Do you see what I'm saying? And this is where Jim Carrey comes in, because he's already naturally goofy, and what the video goes over is that he has, summoned these demons to make himself more funny, right? It outlines it in all of his movies where he's playing this green role, this green character. Even in the movies that don't have anything to do with no green, he plays the Grinch, right? He also is displaying gematria in his movies, the number 23, and this, these codes and what all of it means coming together, and all of that. I did all this research way back when, that he is basically telegraphing who he really is, who he's possessed by. Do you see what I'm saying? Not only that, there are murders. Do you see what I mean? There are mysterious deaths in his jacket, in his past, right? We know that his fiance was that she died in a weird way, and his fiance's family wanted Jim Carrey investigated for the situation around her death, right? This was something that was well known, and I won't say that there was another before her, but I thought that there might have been, so I won't go so far as to say that. But what I do know about his past that happened before then is that his mother and his father died. Now there was illness in both sides, right? There was illness, and we know, because we can see, this is one of the elements of the video series that I investigated, because we saw that Jim Carrey did a movie when he did this movie. I think it was The Mask. He signed this contract very close to the day that his father died, right? Very close. And if we know anything about Hollywood and about these elite, what we can even see is that they sacrifice their family members for fame. This is something that they do, right? Going back thousands of years, something that they do. But we see both his mother and his father dying very mysteriously right around the time that Jim Carrey becomes rich. If you're an investigator, any mysterious death surrounding Hollywood is worthy of investigation and likely to be a murder. Do you see what I'm saying? Especially in conjunction with large contract signs or anything of that nature. Anything from a person who is famous in their past that is a mysterious death that coincides with their rise to fame must be scrutinized very, very heavily. And so what we see is that Jim Carrey does what he does is a stand-up routine around the same time. It's called Unnatural Act. You see what I'm saying? The thing about the devil is that he just can't help but to brag about the things that he does, right? Do you see what I mean? And it works to our favor because we can say, there you go. You see what I mean? Elohim works things out for us so that we can know what's going on. So when the devil start acting up, he's like, look, there he is, right? So when Jim Carrey is doing his stand-up, the stand-up is called Unnatural Act. You know, a stand-up act is something that you do, right? And Jim is unnaturally funny or whatever. So it's a play on words. Unnatural act. But it is a play on words. What is the secondary meaning, right? A sacrifice of someone that you love is an unnatural act, right? And so you could just say, okay, well, that's speculation. It's wild speculation, right? Because, you know, the connection, you can see the connection. But how would a person deal with such a pain psychologically? Do you see what I'm saying? We all look at it as like, oh, these are just wicked folks. And, they're just doing wicked things and going on about their business. But if you know that any sort of love that you have for your mother and father, you had to have some. And if you had anything to do with them going, it's going to creep through the cracks of your mask. Do you see what I'm saying? That you are not going to be able to hide unnatural sadness. Do you see what I'm saying? If you have any remorse or empathy at all, you'll have residual sadness. And so you see this in the routine, even in the unnatural act routine. This is what we go into in the video. You kind of psychoanalyze the person to see what is being said, if what is being said is true. Okay, well, if they're this cult leader and, they're responsible for all these evil acts, would you be able to see it? Would you be able to see them, contemplating their own existence in certain times? And for sure with Jim Carrey. So it's a secondary witness, right? So when you look at Jim Carrey, he does this act, and I guess I'm getting into it. He does this act, and one of the jokes in the comedy act, I'm telling you guys, I did this research. One of the jokes in Unnatural Act, the comedy series or the comedy stand-up act that he does, he talks about his parents going to hell. He says, what would happen if you found out that your parents were going to hell, right? So why in the world would he be making that style of joke? Do you see what I'm saying? What's going on in his life to where he's writing about his parents going to hell? That's unnatural in itself. What would make him think his parents were going to hell? Do you see what I'm saying? Why would that even be a thought in your mind? Okay, well, he's a comedian, he got to say something. But the show is called Unnatural Act, and his parents died not long after this. So why in the world is he forecasting that his parents are going to hell? You see what I'm saying? Because that's on your mind for some reason. Why is it on your mind? Because and this is my theory, and was the theory that I had when I made the video, is that when you come into these, particular cults, right? They have to lure you in with some sort of thing that's true. You see what I'm saying? And what we know about Christianity is that there's a lot of falsehoods in Christianity. That even keeping Christmas is really a pagan ritual, and we don't know what Elohim is going to do to you for continuing to do a pagan ritual. Whether you know it or not, it's still a pagan ritual. Your Bible will tell you in Jeremiah chapter 10, you should not be decking the halls with deck the halls with boughs of holly. Jeremiah chapter 10 will tell you not to deck the tree with silver and gold or put it in your house or stand it up. None of that stuff, right? Do not as the pagans do in Jeremiah chapter 10. If you were reading your scripture, you would know that, right? So how much ignorance can you claim? And so this is true, and this is something that Hebrews point out. This is something that Jews point out. This is something that, Islamists will point out about Christians, but it's also something that Satanists will point out. Really, because it's their holiday. If you mess around, you'll see a Satanist celebrating Christmas and won't be, it wouldn't be no sweat off their back because they're doing winter solstice, right? Same time. You see what I'm saying? So if a Satanist tells you that and you're manipulated by it and say, oh, well, my parents are going to hell, right? You may feel some type of way about that and have something to say about it in your stand-up routine. That is information that is privy from the spiritual side. It's true, right, that you do have some owning up to do for celebrating pagan holidays and not celebrating Elohim appointed holidays. Give me 1 second, you guys. What's up? I'll be out in a minute. What happened? I'll have to see what happened in a minute. Shut the door. So we know that Jim. Shut the door. Shut the door. Thank you. We know that Jim Carrey must have been privy to something at that time that made him think that his parents may be going to hell. So much so that he thought that he would write a joke about it, right? And what was the joke? The joke was like this. What would happen if you knew your parents were going to hell? This is he knew, right? This is a perspective that he's writing the joke from. What would you think if you knew your parents were going to hell? And he was like, oh my gosh, they taught me everything I know. The insinuation is that, and then he even said, I even look like them, right? And so he's joking about this, but there's an origin for the joke. Do you see what I'm saying? And so I believe that it's from this knowledge of what he's preparing to do, and then also from the knowledge of how they've been living their lives as Christians or semi-Christians, in sin, basically. From both of those different things, I think the psychological imprint that would be put on your career choice, which is to talk about what's going on in your mind, was that you believe now for some reason that your parents were going to hell. Do you see what I'm saying? That's weird, right? That, for me, indicates some sort of complicity. You see what I'm saying? So if that was the only thing, that's strong for me. Even the unnatural act, this is a bit of a self-admission on his behalf. So all of those things in my mind are very strong, but it may not be enough for some people. So in the video, it goes on, and there's an interview that he does with some woman, and this woman was asking him about his mother. And this woman was clearly very sympathetic, right? Or when you say sympathetic, sensitive is what I should say. And so she is reading like I'm reading, right? I'm noticing whenever she says mother, he's like cringing almost, right? He's in bad shape. You can tell he's in bad shape. In this interview, he starts talking about his depression and how he's on pills and all these other things. You can tell he's in bad shape in the interview. It's in the video, right? And I hate to look at it like, an investigation into madness, right? But that's what it ends up being about Jim Carrey, right? So she's asking him about his mother, and he's like, oh, my mother. And he finally says, and this is the admission, you guys, this is the Freudian slip of the tongue that these guys can't help but to do. You see what I'm saying? He said, I wanted her out of her misery. And I said, wow. This is 10 years ago, you guys. I said, wow. He did do it. Wow. He actually said, I wanted her out of her misery. So you see what I'm saying? She was sick. She did have cancer. And it did appear that she was going to die. Look, I mean, from his perspective, or just from what we hear from him in these interviews, it looked like it was, not a good diagnosis. But what he said was weird still. I wanted her to be put out of her misery. And being in that situation, you never know how you're going to feel, right? I've heard that some people do feel like that when, they're going to the hospital continually and things are happening. But there's other things that he said as well. And these are live public things. Another thing he said was that I wanted her to know that she was somebody because she gave birth to somebody who was somebody. Do you see how twisted the psychology begins to become when you're looking at your mother as just a vessel for your greatness? Do you see what I'm saying? And then at the same time, wanting her out of her misery, and at the same time, miserable. Do you see what I'm saying? It's all hallmarks in and for an unnatural act. Do you see what I mean? And this is why it really shows when the mask is coming off. When you can see around the mask already, you know something is behind there. But when the mask comes all the way off and you see the ugly reality of what's happening, you have to stop and take notice, right? Wow, this is what's going on. What does it mean? It means we need to be prepared. And unmasking is the same thing as a revelation, you guys. Do you understand that? And so with this unmasking, it's like a living parable to the entire nature of 2025 and 2026. Didn't Cat Williams say this was going to happen? You've got the entire industry, the music industry, being unmasked. You've got the entire sports and entertainment and movie industry being unmasked. You've even got the science industry being unmasked. What's Lawrence Krauss doing in the Epstein files, right? What would the purpose be for blackmailing, with the honeypot scam, Lawrence Krauss, award-winning and best-selling author of theoretical physics, right? Yeah, the author of Something from Nothing, right? You see what I'm saying? How that in itself is a potential card in the Illuminati card game. The theoretical physician with the the philosophical premise for the universe without God. You see what I'm saying? This is the secret plans, the board meeting strategies that we can tell are going on. This is the unmasking, you guys. So what else is unmasked? And this is where Iran comes in, and I've been waiting to say this for a little while. But Iran is a fake war, you guys. It's a fake war. It's a fake war. Everybody's all up in arms. It's a Purim sacrifice, you guys. That's what the Iran war is. It's nothing more than a Purim sacrifice. Now, for their sacrifices, they may be able to, springboard another event into something more global and more interconnected. And I may be wrong about this, but I'm looking at no, probably not. It looks like, and if it does, that's fine too, because this is what they do. This is what they use 9/11 for. They springboarded, and 9/11 wasn't nothing but a ritual sacrifice, but they used it to springboard into a much bigger conflict, so they could take over the Middle East in full with all of the resources. But yeah, that's what this appears to be, you guys. A ritual sacrifice and a regime change. How do we know? Because they attacked Iran last year, right? Iran attacked Israel last year. And what happened? Nothing, right? Iran had nuclear weapons last year, or a capability of nuclear weapons, or the potential of the capability of nuclear weapons last year, the year before that, going back 40 years. Iran has been an excuse to bomb Iran and to do all of these wild things to Iran and to scare the population for 40 years. Do you see what I mean? This is the big bad Muslim boogeyman, right? But in actuality, Khomeini and Khomeini Jr. and Khomeini Sr., whoever, as many Khomeinis as you can find, right? They all look white. They're all white skinned. They could be Netanyahu's brother. They could be Trump's brother. They all look the same. Why? Because the Iranian people are Turks, and because the Ashkenazi people are Turks. That's why. Because those Irani people are Aryan, right? Just like the Aryan Brotherhood that Trump is in control of. They call it MAGA. It's really just the Aryan Brotherhood, right? They're related to the Iranians. You see what I'm saying? They're all Indo-Europeans. They all come from the Eurasian steppe. They're known in the Bible as Magog. And there's a bunch of them. They're in China as the Mongols. They're in India as the Moguls. They're in the Middle East as the Turks, you guys. And that's all of the Middle East. It's everybody. There ain't no Shemites in the Middle East right now. Those are Japhethites. All in North Africa, Japheth, right? The tents of Shem, Japheth will live in the tents of Shem. Even in Europe, all that's Japheth, right? China, Japheth. You see what I mean? So we know what's going on in history. We know what's going on in the text. And so we can see how Iran and Israel are related. And the reason why they've got this back and forth is to scare the world, right? And now they may use it for some other purpose or for some unification scheme, but they've been attacking Iran for a very long time. They killed all of the top brass, all the top generals last year, right? They killed all them last year. I mean, who's leading the war? Against them, against us. You see what I'm saying? If they're fighting against us, who's leading the war? All their brass was destroyed last year. And then this year, their president was taken out by missile strikes and all that. Do you see what I'm saying? Right around Purim, when Israel and Persia, this is Iran is supposed to be Persia, Iran is fake Persia, Ashkenaz is fake Israel. It's a ritual reenactment of Purim equipped with human sacrifice. That's what it is, y'all. That's all it is. It's not a real war, you guys. The way we know it's not a real war is because we know the Khomeini squad was put into power by the CIA all the way back in the 80s. You guys remember Iran-Contra? Yeah, it was a scam to sell drugs to the black population in the United States. That's what Iran-Contra was. Oliver North and all of them. It was a whole operation, just like this is an operation, except it was an operation to sell drugs to black Americans, Hebrews, right? Yeah, my family got caught up in that. Members of my family dead in jail from that operation, you know. Lives destroyed, generationally destroyed from that operation. It was a successful operation in destroying the black community. It worked. Do you see what I'm saying? This is what successful operations look like. This is what successful sacrifices look like on a public scale. You see what I'm saying? You know that that's what it is because they replaced him with his son. Now, why would you, as a son, get into the position when you know you're just going to be bombed, right? Unless you know you're not. Unless you sacrificed your dad so that you can take the position because you know y'all are all related. Do you see what I'm saying? Unless you know that you're the feet and the toes and that there will be wars and rumors of wars and you got to keep up the appearance of an enemy and you just really are a toe on the feet and toes of the last empire before the return of Mashiach. You understand? Everybody's confused about it being Israel and Persia and this Purim and it's a reenactment. Oh, look at the prophecies being re-fulfilled. No, it's a ritual sacrifice equipped with reenacting Purim, reenacting the the story from the actual Hebrews in a mock celebration to the adversary, equipped with high-level human sacrifice. You're watching it play out right before your eyes, you guys. This is the unmasking, you guys. Elohim Yahweh has given us the real unmasking, the real revelation, so we are not confused about what happens in these last days. In these last days, we know that the beast will be revealed, that the false prophet will be revealed, and that people will be deceived in chasing after it. We see all those elements coming into play right now. We see the beginning of the 10 toes. We see the right people in place, all these different Magogite groups. We see Israel awakening to its ancient understanding and heritage. We see people starting to understand again. And it's all being, fomented in a time of extreme change. So we can't witness the revelation. We can't witness the unmasking and do nothing. Once you see the adversary, you know that it's all real. Everything. And if it's all real, if the devil's real, then Elohim Yahweh Yisrael must be the creator of heaven and earth, because he's the one that told us about this. Right? Pray up, prepare, behave accordingly. It's going down, y'all. Shalom, shalom.